Both teams will have to take the Aegis up here and defend themselves as we go into game number 3 between Roll20 and Tempo Storm. 1-1 currently here for the playoffs in the mid-season brawl. I am joined by Gilly, Trixler, and Fan once again, and it wouldn't be a series between these two on a LAN setting if it didn't have a few more games available to it. So it's nice that we get to see this 1-1 situation already play out.
Oh, I definitely think we're going all the way to game number 5 in NA versus NA, and I would have it no other way. It should be a battle to the final end with one team going home and one team going on.
Yeah, Tempo Storm is starting to cook now. They're looking great. They're starting to fire on all cylinders. So as we continue to go throughout the series, we'd love to see that. And as mentioned from game number 2, we'd love to see Glaurung pull it back a little bit. You know, less high heat, more medium heat.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing about Glaurung, though. You know, I said this earlier in the group stages. He is aggressive, whether it'll be good or not. He is extremely, extremely aggressive. And sometimes that'll net you 22 zeros against MVP Black. Other times, what happened last game will happen.
Is there any feasible world where Tempo Storm says, maybe we should ban something else first? Or is it always just going to be Medivh? Or always? Warhead Junction's going to be our next map?
I would have said if they went to Warhead Junction, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe they try to control globals here, and this is the place where they're like, yeah, you can pick your Medivh, but we're going to be the ones to ban out Dahaka and get Abathur, Illidan, or something.
This is a battleground that Tempo Storm has come into the tournament expecting to pull off wins on, and they haven't quite executed as well. Most of the time, they usually say, all right, we didn't do this one thing right, and that's why we lost. They've done that both times here. Can they pull it off against Roll20? Warhead Junction is a battleground that they're really starting to love, but I have yet to see what they love so much about it.
This is going to be pretty interesting. I wonder if this is a battleground where they can drop the Medivh ban. I don't know if Tempo is just going to straight up 5-game ban Medivh, so interested in seeing if they alter the ban pattern.
All right, into game number 3. 1-1 currently here for the mid-season brawl playoffs as America has to eliminate America. Uther getting banned out first for Roll20.
Here's where we see what it will be. Aha!
Oh, ho, ho, ho. All right.
Variety. The Genji gets picked up right away here from Roll20. They'll hold off on moving into their Medivh, keeping that Genji up in the rotation. Obviously, he's great. Seen him the whole entire tournament.
Yeah, there's several other power picks here other than the Genji. You have the Tassadar plus the Tracer. Incredibly strong composition on Warhead Junction. You have your traditional globals, your Abathur, your Brightwing comes out on this map where she doesn't really see play on any other maps. And then you just have your Anubrax and your Malfurions. All of those are viable. We'll see what Tempo Storm picks here for their first rotation.
I think Anubrax is one of the must-go-tos on this battleground, just because if you do get a proper rotation and you find a number advantage, you just amplify that so much more. And you force your opponent to fight because you can use that cocoon. So Anubrax really wanted to go for.
You gotta take Abathur, though. You have to take Abathur. You can't give Genji and Abathur. Okay.
Nice. So Abathur and Anubrax. And Tempo Storm wins this game. It's calling it out.
We already have Trick's predictions, so we can just skip on from that, apparently.
I literally woke up this morning and I was like, if I see a Anubrax on a team, I'm going with that team all day, every day.
The Anubrax?
I'm the Anubrax. Yeah, I'm following that hype train.
It's a very strong 1-2 by Tempo Storm. They actually did this previously where they banned out the Dahaka as second pick. And last time they did this, they got punished by the first pick Abathur. So I am a little bit surprised that Roll20 went with the Genji first pick over the Abathur first pick. This is a really big map, really good for Abathur. Not only that, your opponent just banned Dahaka, the best available counter. They must have been thinking that, you know, Sam really comfortable on the Genji, wanted to deny that pick. We'll have to see if it's worth giving up the Abathur, though.
Yeah, they definitely knew where Tempo Storm was going as soon as they saw that Dahaka ban, and still were willing to get Genji. He can get potentially Pathfinder at level 1, which gives him movement speed whenever he vaults over terrain. So in that way, he gets a lot of mobility. We could possibly see a Royal Focus Leoric to get more mobility with him, too. Leoric and Malfurion, so Buds will still be on Malfurion.
Yeah, the Leoric pick coming in here, and I believe the main reason why you see the Leoric pick this early is because there's no real global, like, there's not that many globals you can pick to match the Abathur at this point. Leoric is kind of a pseudo-global in the sense that he can double soak 2 lanes, especially with the Royal Focus build. He can do it extremely quickly. You can basically 4-man 1 lane if you need to, or 4-man roam while the Leo soaks 2 other lanes, and it kind of acts like the pseudo-global in that case.
On top of that, I really like that Lee Work brings you that engage if you ever do get the Entomb. Very important against an Abathur composition to try and force fights on your terms and not their terms. If they're ever able to set up, get that ultimate evolution clone, or even try to disengage after an evolution clone's been used, Leoric coming in with some coming engage tank can do really well here. Now, Tempo Storm is sinking a long time on this ban, and they decided to move into the Tyrael ban.
Yeah, getting rid of the last invulnerability there. I think that is a pretty good idea.
Chin ban.
Is that
I was wondering what it was going to be. Illidan. Is it going to be Greymane? All of these are potential picks on Warhead Junction for Tempo Storm, but Chen seems to be the scariest.
Is that our first Chen ban of the tournament?
I think so.
I think it might be.
Nice.
I mean, it's a smart ban. Chen,
Yeah.
very good with Abathur. Extremely hard to kill with a composition with... So far, the only thing that stops him from drinking is Twilight Dream, which you don't get until level 10.
I have a question. Is Fat Illidan just your name for it, or do most people call it in America that?
It's a known meme before me.
Yeah.
I'm just a user, not a creator.
I don't know why I never really knew that. Maybe I'm just isolated in Europe.
Yeah, Chen chases
Strange.
just as well as Illidan, so everyone's like, that
Absolutely,
Illidan,
yeah.
they chase forever, ha 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 ha. And that's kind of funny, actually, when you think about it.
And he's also happy when the other team doesn't have a lot of interrupts. But this time for drinking brew.
Yeah, so the Chen ban does come out. It is a good ban, but you're leaving the real Illidan up, as well as Greymane if Tempo Storm wants it. Those are very synergistic heroes for the Abathur.
Oh.
Tempo going with the Zeratul instead, though.
Zeratul and Abathur, this is an old combo. Man, lanes become terrified.
I have a question. Is there any world where Zagara enters this game? Between these two
It's
teams?
NA versus NA. Fan? We gotta ask Fan.
I mean, Gale Force really is the team that loves Zagara. I would consider running it if I were Tempo Storm, but
Against a Zeratul Abathur?
No. If I was Tempo Storm.
Okay. I was gonna say,
Not into
whoa,
Zeratul
man.
Although that's generally Cawthon, who plays both Zagara and Abathur for them.
Yes.
So that's the only thing is it's a conflicting hero pool.
Right.
But Caterpillar has a huge hero pool. He could probably flex onto one of those just depending on which they wanted to go for. But I still think it's going to be more probably Greymane here.
Yeah, I think it's much more likely they pick up a heavier damage dealer on Tempo
Yeah.
Storm's side. If you go for the Zagara, she is notoriously bad in team fights, and that would require you to go for a very macro strategy.
Oh,
Wow.
Artanis Medivh. It was
Okay,
let through.
I changed my mind. Roll20 wins. They have the Medivh here. They have the Artanis engage. They're able to move in pretty effectively. You have the swaps. If you ever catch that Rhaegar, you can destroy him. Pretty exciting stuff.
What made you change your mind? Artanis or Medivh?
Both in combination.
Both in combination?
Yeah.
Right, okay, like a jewel ice cream kind of.
Yeah, like a jewel ice cream, like
a
vanilla and chocolate together. Yeah,
precisely.
Double the
Nice.
flavor, double the fun. You know,
Nice.
just
I like
right
it.
here. Also, I really just like Artanis into a new bracket. If you get Triple Strike and Titan Killer, it actually burns pretty quickly through majority of tanks. And Tracer will be the final pickup here for Tempo Storm.
Huh, that's interesting. Not loving the Tracer into the Genji. Don't think that's that good of a, 5 versus 5 team fight wise, but I think what Tempo's doing here is they're gonna split up the map here. They're gonna try and pick you apart. The Zeratul Tracer, these are roamers with really high mobilities. You can almost consider them pseudo-globalists. Out on an Abathur hat, and they're just gonna be roaming and trying to outnumber you and gank you for days.
It feels like the execution onto the backline here for Tempo Storm to just try and get there with Tracer, Zeratul, and Abathur. If they do get there and try and kill someone, it could be amazing. But there's so much protection on the other side.
Yeah.
It has to be Malfurion their target, surely. And that's
Once you get ice blocks, that's not the
Yeah.
best. And if you all clump on top of Malfurion, you're asking to be Twilight Dreamed, and you do not want to be Twilight Dreamed as a Tracer especially.
Yeah, I have to say this is a game of recognizing your win condition.
Yeah.
With that last pick Tracer, I imagine Tempo has to realize that their win condition is through ganking, never through the 5 versus 5 team fight, unless they're either really far ahead or they're just sure for some reason that they can win it.
it's time.
Tempo Storm, but they have to get ahead early. They have to try to snowball. They have to make sure they're going for picks over full team fights. They do not want to let this never die Artanis truly come to fruition, but Tempo Storm.
I'm going to go against my plan of voting for a new bracket the entire day, and I'm going to pick up a Roll20 here. The Artanis Medivh combo is going to be devastating, and I can't wait for it.
Voting from the heart there.
I gotta go with Tempo Storm on this one. I think they're a smart enough team to realize exactly what they have done in terms of their drafting. So I believe they can pick apart Roll20 with the composition that they got with the Zeratul and the Tracer and the Abathur. So going with Tempo Storm.
Okay, let's see what chat thinks as well, as we've got the picks in from our desk. And still in favor of Roll20 as we get into game number 3. Time now to find out who takes the lead here in this best of 5 series for the playoffs. Day number 1, mid-season brawl. Let's go.
Well, we head into game number 3, where North America likes to keep things interesting, not just with Warhead, but with Draft's Dreadnought.
Yeah, we got the Artanis Medivh coming out. You know, it's so awesome to see when NA plays NA, even internationally, that we get this, you know, creative, unique meta that we have developed within our region. But this is it. We are tied up. On the left is going to be Roll20, Prismaticism on Genji, Buds playing Malfurion, Leoric played by Yoda, Justing on the Artanis, and Glarong, as always, his Medivh is something to look out for.
And on the right side, in red, will be Tempo Storm, Cawthon Luck on Abathur, Furion on Nubarak, June on Rhaegar, and then Psalm on Zeratul and Caterpillar on Tracer. I think this team of Tempo Storm with an Abathur and a cloned Zeratul, somebody on the side of Roll20 better be careful.
Yeah, every single member of Roll20 in isolated skirmishes is going to fall apart. Our analysis broke it down perfectly, giving you guys a perfect idea of what to be looking for in this game. Tempo wants to just isolate, look for 1v1s, the Abba hat to be able to help it, make it a 1.5 versus 1, get those type of picks with Psalm on the Zeratul and, you know, as always, on the Tracer. Those are going to be key, but late game Roll20, macro game out of Roll20 is always something to know. And again, Glarong on the Medivh. That guy makes so many plays.
I gotta see Prismat on Genji here. It's just...
He actually, okay, first time that Genji was actually allowed in North America, both Psalm and, or excuse me, both Prismaticism and Glarong both played a Genji game. Prismaticism had by far the flashiest plays on Genji. Both of them played it very, very well.
Was that the Sky game?
Yeah, Prismat was just dunking kids in North America here. So I actually love the flexibility on that pick specifically between those two players.
Glad you reminded me of that. I definitely remember those plays, as both teams are going to have a little bit of focus on the wave clear, but you kind of wonder, like, how effective is this wave clear between these teams?
I mean, yeah, both of them have kind of forfeited the focus onto the macro game, except for very late game. Roll20 actually can be pretty effective there, also depending on what we see Medivh move into with his level 20. So it's both teams just kind of accepting their fate, saying this is going to come down to the bloodbath. Who is going to pull out ahead? And right now, it seems to be neither team. It's just posturing, rotating, but hopefully that's going to change as we have our first 2 warheads on the map.
Prismat continuing to try and move in. I'm really curious to see what the boss fights are going to be like. Amateur opponent plus a Genji? This will be really interesting as this game plays out, as the nukes have now spawned. We're going to see Justin already try and prioritize, but Cattle's like, wait a minute, not just yet.
Yeah, and you know, we see Abathur able to kind of dabble up on the top and just get that side soak as well. So Tempo Storm wants to look for a bit of delay. The fact that they're able to posture around this mid and have reasonable delay is actually very, very impressive coming out from Tempo Storm. Again, for a team who's not too successful in the early game, typically, they do very well when they have Abathur compositions.
Abathur has Leoric on top of him, I believe. And down goes Abathur. But a little bit of spray value, too. Having a little bit of fun with this one. And now Prismat, we're going to see Vorpal Blade goes in.
No portal available to get out, and that is another kill here for Tempo Storm. Kato, though, getting out a bit too far. The swap not going to land. He gets another dash just out of the root, and now Justin finds himself in a terrible position. Portal only a couple seconds away. Can Glarong make it out?
He's going to try, as Will is going to be there, protect him for a moment longer. And they're turning their focus onto Psalm, who now has the Abathur hat. But that of June, very low on mana, forced to fall back, tap, and technically a 1-for-1 trade between top and bottom of this map.
Yeah, a 1-for-1 trade, and that is going to be good for Roll20, because this is where Tempo Storm should be extremely, extremely effective, 1 through 9, through those ganks. And so they need to be able to pull ahead, and the fact that they're sitting on that dead even mark is not necessarily that great. They aren't losing on the structures, which you talked about, the lack of wave clear, but they don't have necessarily the greatest late game, or they're relying huge onto just CC plays out of the Zeratul and out of the Tracer. I would like to see them be more focused and concentrated on isolated ganks onto bottom lane or top.
Well, we see that of Roll20 starting to move into the bottom lane, both teams capturing their camps on both sides of the map, but we still have a nuke for both teams. So there goes one nuke on the side of Roll20, who will be pushing in that bottom lane. And then June One of the things Rhaegar actually does pretty well is grab camps. So that's what he just did by completing that camp at the top right. We'll see if he pushes in with a nuke of his own.
See what they can make happen here. A bit of a collapse up on top. Yoda has Wraithwalk available though, so I mean, it's standard Leora game case. It's just pretty much unrealistic. But we do see Roll20 taking a bit of flavor out of Europe, specifically Wubby with that Royal focus at 4. He's yet to pick up his 7 and go the entire build that it seems like Wubby has brought here to the mid-season brawl. But Tempo Storm laying down a Warhead, getting a bit of siege. Again, a very slow early game, which only helps Roll20.
Both teams using their nukes, waiting for the next phase. Roll20 with a slight experience advantage as Tempo Storm tries to keep up with the Abathur. The Abathur going into the global nest dread with the slow, looking to disrupt some of the rotations on the side of Roll20, who again has an amateur opponent, Artanis,
which is going to be used here up on the boss. But look at Fury. He actually scouts it out. He reveals himself before anybody's there to contest. They're trying to scare them away from this very early boss. Buds takes so much damage there from the mines, stuck up into the shrub. He drops the heal. Yoda ends up missing his heal. The focus goes on to him. The Wraithwalk is not even there. He goes down, but the swap, dropping Psalm in. Can he bolt away? It might not even be needed. But boss, it's not de-aggroed.
They're going right back on it again with amateur opponent. They're going to try and take this fight. I don't know if this is going to work out the way Roll20 thinks it will be, as Prismaticism continuing to try and put the pressure on, but Psalm starting to work some damage in. Yoda already up dread.
Justin is going to take this. They're going to start this fight. Yoda comes back to life. Fury on the point. He has to retreat. Cattle withdraws as well. And now look at Roll20. They take the risky call, but they get the boss. They get the pick, and they are fighting over tempo.
This crowd is electric here as the stage is shaking beneath our very feet. But as you can see, Abathur grabbed the bottom nuke himself. He's going to use that and then back on out. And then we still have 2 nukes available to be picked up.
Tempo Storm has been unable to get any form of ganking or pick whatsoever. They're dead even when it comes to kills here over Roll20. Roll20 now finds himself with 20 advantage. Got a little overconfident with this rotation onto the Warhead.
Top push.
But they're just gonna all siege up here. Drop the Warhead. The boss is gonna be moving in. This should be a keep with amateur opponent 10 advantage. Tempo Storm finds themselves down a keep at 6 minutes. Can they defend?
Oh, they're trying to get the swap.
No
Justin
way.
Misses it. The nuke in return for defense. This is the right call. It'll be able to push down the boss.
They didn't commit.
They still got to get the keep. They still got to get the keep. All right, now they can get away.
And they got the portal out. All right. What I expected, the reason I was so concerned for a moment there for Roll20 is, so when you think about the Warhead being dropped down at that point in time, you see the damage output that it could put out. You never want to fight on top of that. But you knew Tempo Storm didn't have 10s. You want to take that fight. If they just move forward, ensure the keep, not risk anything, then get the retreat. It's just, again, one of the minor things, but we have to bring that up because this is the mid-season brawl. We are finding the best teams in the world. And talking about that, Psalm not going to make it out. He gets picked, and now Prismat looks for a bit more. This is not the early game Tempo Storm wanted.
No, not at all. And Roll20 is like, well, we are down a member. You have an Abathur. We'll just turn our focus onto the next boss. I mean, Roll20 right now doing whatever they want. The swap onto Fury, who is going to burrow out. But this is just Roll20 kind of getting what they want right now. I mean, it seems like the team fights aren't exactly the explosive team fights. They're just doing enough, and then Tempo Storm is saying, okay, we give.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And a lot of that came down to really smart laning decisions early on from Roll20. They made themselves very ungankable with what their laning matchups were in most cases. But then this back half of the game, Tempo Storm committing all the resources to try and stop the boss. They are going to get the initiation. Buds hit a 4-man Twilight Dream. The cocoon is going to be revealed. Portal moves out. Glorung finds himself in a safe position. Prismat with the dash does as well. Justin, though, he's going to go for the pre-swap. Is that Entomb Whipped?
Potentially the Entomb. We're going to land it here, but Fury in return goes in on an Uberak. Glaurung trying to walk away. Those Master's Touch will be reset as the Ancestral lands onto Psalm. Prismat still trying to be aggressive.
Yeah, losing the Master's Touch there is definitely going to be a problem if this game moves forward and Tempo can fight the same way we just saw from them there. That's not very common to see Glaurung get caught out against North American teams before he finished that. He typically plays very, very patient until that's going to be captured. So now that is a big window for Tempo. They still are only down 1 level. If they can find the 13 and still look for these picks somewhere onto the map, they have got an opportunity. But they need to stop waiting for Roll20 to make the mistake and start forcing their hand.
2 nukes on the battleground. Another camp picked up here for Roll20 as they look to invade on the side of Tempo Storm. They have 13 tier advantage. Decloak Psalm there.
Nice.
The Entomb locks in June, the one with no mobility.
Beautiful initiation coming out from Yoda. I mean, that was just absolutely crisp. That is now June down. Warheads are up. Tempo Storm crushing under this pressure right now, but all because of the plays here of Roll20. It's amazing that Roll20 doesn't have the gank team, but they seem to be the ones making those rotations more effectively here than Tempo.
They're far more aggressive, and Tempo Storm just doesn't have the answer. We now have double camps and a nuke pushing
No way.
the top. This is not the ideal push, but this is Roll20.
They're banking on Artanis. They bait out 1 warhead, and they get the retreat. So that was a beautiful decision there coming out from Roll20. The minute they see that warhead, they're like, thank you very much. That is going to be something you need to be able to open up this map later. And another pick on to Abathur.
Oh, man.
Justing on the other side of the wall.
You know, whatever. He's like, I'll just go on through, but all of a sudden we've got the VP. Justin getting stunned there, hops into the VP for the moment.
There's no ley line because that is caught into the Entomb. The cocoon comes out before ley line is used. Can they get the pick? Justin ends up falling, so now that is 1 for 1. Fury trying to get the retreat, the hack, the slash of the Dragon Blade, but Prismat doesn't get it, and there's the ley line.
Ley line trapping 3 people. Glaurung continued to put the pressure on with that Q, but not enough follow-up because the damage was done. Artanis fell in the middle of that, and Abathur has returned. And I think the minute he had it in there, Fury is like, look, I'm enabled. I can heal the minute I get around enough people by you pressing W. Let's go.
I love the fight we see here coming out from Roll20. The fact that that was a member stuck on the opposite side of the wall, getting damage coming out from the 4 in. You know, you see the moment where it's like we could panic into this team fight, but they hold their composure. Now they are going to be closing in to the 16 talent here. Tempo Storm's getting desperate. They want to fight, and they try to get it here onto Glar, but the portal is there. The swap was too early, so now Justin's a bit out of position, but conveniently, post 13, those portals are a bit longer.
Yeah, not too bad there, but Psalm continuing to put the pressure on. We have our cocoon. Artanis coming over to get Glaurung out. Portal again, safety there. We're going to see Yoda. We're going to see if he's going to try and Entomb there. The swap on a Fury. He does have the nuke. The roots miss.
They miss. The Entomb is going to lock it down. He drops the warhead to make sure that nobody advances forward. That doesn't go over to the hands of Roll20, but now Justin moved up. They got a pick. The camp pressuring through bottom. Boss has now spawned, and I expect
walk right up.
Perfect rotation from Roll20. They're actually going to try and rebuttal. You see Cattle trying to keep them busy and make sure that they don't take that boss so quickly, but as long as Justin moves up with its amateur opponent, I mean, it's titled that for a reason. It's going to make this boss look exactly like that, an amateur opponent.
Well, this boss gets ripped apart. They do have 1 nuke, and I think that Tempo Storm realizes they have to make a play. The roots
They're gonna
just
go.
missed. Prismaticism going on as well. Remember, that top keep is down. Dread, this could potentially, and we now have nukes spawning as well. 2 nukes plus a boss could be a win condition right here for Roll20.
It could be, but only if Void Prison is used offensively for something other than defenses. There's no way a 12-minute boss and only 1 early game warhead is enough to end it, especially using the Void, making it untargetable and not affected here by the siege. So warheads have been obtained here for both sides. And Nubarak transitioning towards bottom. We have 2 for Roll20. Is that enough? What is the Void coming out from Psalm here? Because it could make or break this game.
We've seen this in the past. You have to make sure and time this appropriately. It will render it useless. 2 nukes are down in defense. They're on the boss.
The
1
Void?
nuke onto the core. 2nd nuke on the core. You've got to get the Void down. There it goes. Perfectly timed. The boss at 50%. Dreadnought, they are defending, but shields are down.
Buds fall so low, they might not have the damage or the heals, but the shield, the dream, 40 and counting. This is it. Roll20 fighting back and showing Tempo Storm you may be able to win and dominate the North American HGC, but at LAN, we are the better team. We will put you in your place, and they lead 2-1.
I don't know at what point you could say that Roll20 didn't have control of that. We talked about the control that Zeratul and Tracer should have you with that Abathur, but they did almost nothing with it early game, Dread.
Tempo Storm just did exactly what they're known to do, is play the safe game, hope your opponent makes the mistake. That is what
That's
their
their
place.
map.
Yeah, it is. It is their map, and that is going to make this series momentum, I feel, colossally into the favor of Roll20. But it's just Tempo has to find a moment to where they either compositionally figure it out or just team-wise, rotationally, something is not lining up because the passiveness we see out of them is just not forcing an error on any part of Roll20.
Yeah, that puts up Roll20 2-1 in this best of 5. We're going to get to another game here momentarily, but before we get to that, we're going to hear from Caleres and crew back at the analyst desk.
Yes, we are. Thank you very much. 2-1 now in favor of the Dice Boys, as they looked pretty darn good there on Warhead Junction.
After that boss fight, or right in the middle of it, Yoda did go down, but the fact that it's Leoric, who already has a shortened respawn timer, and he respawns right back in action, and that was the only kill that Tempo Storm could get in that time, that first boss fight dictated the whole rest of the game because of Roll20 were able to take a keep off of it.
I mean, it's Artanis. What do you want? He just gets victory. That's what he does. He delivers.
I mean, to expand on that Artanis on Warhead point, I'm really excited about this. It's just something that I was doing in Hero League to like cheese people for a long time. So as Artanis with amateur opponent and the level 4 overload shield talent, you can actually solo bosses at level 4 on Warhead if you micro correctly. Obviously, they didn't do the solo boss, but you do it extremely quickly and you're very tanky on point. So that's kind of the strategy that Roll20 built this game. And it's really cool because I don't even know if Tempo knows that. So I do have a replay around the boss pit here, as you guys said. So you see they're forcing the boss 5 versus 5 with the Artanis, just melting the boss very quickly here. Tempo does the right thing. They have Abathur. They know where the people are. 5 people go missing. You know they're on boss, and they contest. And for a while, this goes to Tempo's advantage. So if we can pause right here. So we see the Leoric dies here, right? Because they're split around the boss pit and trying to fight Tempo. So they're essentially fighting on 2 fronts. And here's the important thing. The Leoric dies at 5 minutes, 19 seconds, okay? And if we could just play on here. Sam gets swapped in. He's a little bit scared. He probably doesn't have Blink, so he backs out. That's fine. But look at this. So now, Roll20, they decide, pause right here. 523, they decide they're all inning the boss. The Leo, they think is gonna come back up soon, right? Right there, you see all of them turn back on the boss. 523. So Leo, he's still dead. What is Tempo doing here? Look, 527, 3 seconds pass. 528, not a single member in a 5 versus 4. They're not engaging at all. Only at 530 do they start attacking. Cattle has been here for 10 seconds and he hasn't been attacking anyone. And they're all at full HP. Same with Fury, same with June. You know, they neglect the 5 versus 4 fight. They don't fight when Leoric is dead. They stood here for 10 seconds in a 5 versus 4 situation. They didn't try and finish the boss. They didn't try and push the injured Roll20 players off when the Leo was dead. They waited around and did nothing and let Roll20 just take the boss. And that's what Tempo's been criticized for. You know, sometimes they're indecisive compared to the extreme decisiveness coming from Glarong. If they just punished immediately, that decision to just go on the boss would have been a bad call in my opinion. Tempo would have killed all of them, but because they didn't, it was a game turning point for Roll20.
It's a great spot, and considering that they were taking damage from the poison from the remnants of the boss at the end as well, everything was not going in Tempo Storm's favor in that at all.
That's what turned them the worst too. Yeah, they delayed for so long, but the Balians actually got baited into Tempo Storm. Leoric slowed down at the last second, which forced June and other members to take that damage and be slowed.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Those are probably the most